All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone Radio Show. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And you can listen to the X-Zone 724-365 at www.xzoneradiotv.com. And I would like to welcome all the members of the worldwide audience of the Starcom Radio Network, and a special hi to Ed Till, the CEO, and the guy behind the Ed Till Show Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. at Starcom Radio Network at www.starcomradionetwork.com. Exonation, my two guests tonight are, let me see, this hour, Lesley Mitchell Clarke and Wes Roberts. They're from the beautiful city of Toronto. Guys, welcome to the X-Zone.
Hey, Rob, great to hear your dulcet tones there, buddy, coming up from the hammer.
Hi, Rob. Thank you.
Hey, Wes. Nice having you with us. And Lesley, great talking to you. Georgina said to say hello to you.
Oh, bless her heart. Isn't she just a growing concern?
She, you know,
she's wonderful.
She is. She truly is. But here you are. You and Wes have your own radio show. You've been doing this a number of years. You talk about hypnosis for the experiencer. And Wes, you talk about abductees and experiencers. How did you two meet?
Well, actually, I was in practice as a hypnotherapist, and I had already been seeing various individuals who believe that they have had abduction. I hate to use that word, really, but, you know, encounters of some sort with extraterrestrial beings of some ilk. So I was in that zone, and actually a mutual a colleague of mine, the wonderful Barb Keshen, who specializes in hypnosis for children, she actually referred Wes to me, and so we began working together as a client hypnotherapist relationship, and certainly I'm a student of Georgina's. Georgina, I became certified in past life regression, interlife regression under Georgina's tutelage. So I had adapted regression techniques specifically for working with individuals who believe they have had this kind of experience. And certainly I also studied intensively particularly the work of John Mack.
Oh, yes.
The late Dr. John Mack, who was, and along with Bud Hopkins, although Bud Hopkins himself was not a hypnotherapist, somebody else had to induct the people into the trance state. But so there's the beginning of not only a fascinating client and therapist relationship, but certainly we began to work on the radio show together on Contact Radio, which was about 7 years ago. So, and we're collaborating on a book right now, based actually on Wes's many experiences that we have taken from his many regression sessions.
Now, Wes, let me ask you this question. The experiences you have had, are they only recallable through hypnosis, or can you recall these experiences in a conscious state?
I think that's a very valid question and a very good one to answer. As a matter of fact, I ended up seeing Lesley for the first time because of a consciously recalled experience that I had in the 1980s. So I sat on it for 25 years before I decided to do something about it. And I also have maybe half a dozen other consciously recalled experiences.
What was your first experience? How old were you? Where was it that took place? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel?
Okay, well, the reason I saw Lesley was an experience in the 1980s, which turned out not to be my first experience. So my first experience, I was a child of 3 or 4, walking down the street on which I lived with a very interesting and oddly shaped person, I thought, with clothes that didn't fit properly. And we basically walked down the street and ended up in some place completely different. That one was recalled under hypnosis. Until that point, I had no idea I'd gone through anything before the 1980s.
So, have you had experiences where you've actually had conscious visitations of ETs or abduction experiences?
Oh, yes. I've had a handful of those, and they usually take place at night, sometimes getting to sleep, sometimes in sleep, sometimes waking up from sleep. So I had a rough ride of it up until about 5 years ago, until I made the decision to seek someone out and come to terms with this thing called an abductee, because quite honestly, I never considered that I was one of those people. I never, it never entered my mind. I just thought it was curious. I had some curious experiences that I couldn't explain that were not dreams.
So Lesley, what is it you think that happened with Wes? Why could he remember some but not others?
Well, I think that is actually very, very common, Rob. And it's my personal feeling now, after doing this work for some time, that that memories cannot be suppressed forever. That we're either the beings that have initially suppressed the memories have time dated them in a sense, or the beings that have sought to suppress our memories have grossly underestimated our ability and our curiosity to recover them. So, but I think one of the things that you're asking is, do a large percentage of people have memories that extend also back to their childhood experiences? And I would say very frequently individuals who come to see me are in midlife, somewhere in midlife. That is most common. And generally they have reoccurring images that can extend to childhood but don't necessarily. So first of all, I certainly have a very complex intake that I do when people with this issue come to see me to rule out, any possible mental illness or possible trauma in the present life, that kind of thing. So when those avenues are exhausted and the person has a conscious memory or a part of a conscious memory, generally I begin in the first session by going to that experience. And inevitably, it is a kind of a tip of the iceberg situation. And generally, a person might remember the first part of an abduction experience or the returning. So it's an imperfect memory, and that is what is so disturbing to the individual, where they will finally, when they've been deemed to be mentally healthy by their medical doctors and psychiatrists, they will finally come see a specialist in regression to try and recover these memories. And I would also have to say that almost all of the experiencers that I have worked with have had experiences since they were small children. Almost all.
Based on your experience, Lesley, what percentage of the population do you believe have these experiences hidden deep within their psyche that may be troubling them on a psychological scale? And here you've got people like Wes, who has had experiences, walking around not knowing about these experiences. What percentage do you think of the population has had these experiences? And how dangerous?
Rob, I think it's a far higher percentage than anyone would really like to consider realistically. Now, the data that we have from organizations that are doing hardcore research, as far as people believing they've had experiences, it's estimated at least a third of the Earth's population believe that they have had an experience or of some sort. And to look at that maybe in a slightly different way, the amount of encounters that are reported within the continental United States and within the Americas, I should say, is in excess of 14 million. So that's larger than the population of New York City. So we're dealing with some very large numbers here, Rob. And through the work of innovative journalists like yourself, who are able to provide forums for people to consider these issues and come forward, the fear surrounding these issues is being dispersed and dispelled. And so I think we're going to see more and more and more and more situations. And I can also say, and I get some argument about this from some individuals, most of the experiences that people have are not negative. They are, and what we often come to understand is that the individuals who have repeated experiences have entered into some kind of a learning partnership of some sort. There even seems to be a kind of an age of accountability. I know Gary Kramer has talked about that. The wonderful Captain K. I'm sorry, not Gary Kramer. Boy, my brain. But you know who I mean, Captain K. He talked about being 17 years old and being brought before a council and said, are you ready to join in this program? So I've heard that kind of scenario over and over and over again.
Wes, tell me about your experience. What do you feel when you have these experiences? What do you think the messages that these entities are trying to get across to you?
Well, I think I can answer that in a couple of ways. Based on my 1980s experience, which I consider a key experience for me, it was one of entities observing me, and in particular, I've always felt this to be true, of wondering about my emotional response or reaction to situations. And in this particular 1980s experience, it took place in several phases. And so I think they were interested to see what my reaction would be each phase of the journey, so to speak. So they were studying my emotional reaction, in my opinion. It's perhaps something that they can't or don't do normally on this level. So I think that's one piece of it. And I think the other piece, which is perhaps more important, is that I think they're looking for an awareness in us, for people to just not carry forth their message, but just to say, you know what, I think we've moved past the point of saying, let's keep looking for craft, alien craft, and let's start talking about occupants of craft, and let's start talking about entities that can interact with us. And that's what I feel is that, my work, if you will, is to just say to people, these have been some direct experiences. Do they sound familiar to you?
Where do you think these entities come from? Have they told you, where they come from? Have they shown you where they come from? And what is their mission? Have they communicated this with you? And I guess the biggest question of all is, do these entities or these extraterrestrials, these visitors, do they pose a threat to this planet and its occupants?
So let me address that part of your question first, the last part of your question first. To the best of my knowledge, and I'm not claiming to be an expert on alien species, there are many species. There are many, many species, scores of different kinds of aliens, just like there are different kinds of people. And they have different agendas. To my mind, the ones I've been exposed to and worked with only want to help me increase my own awareness, actually. I don't think they pose any threat, not to me or to anyone else. And I've only ever had, say, 3 maybe out of 30 to 40 experiences. 3 of them were negative, or 3 of them were somewhat frightening or somewhat confusing. The other 30 almost have been largely positive. It's almost as if you're sort of put in a situation, and it's like a computer is getting a download. So you get this download, and you process it over a few days, and it just increases your awareness even more. And it's like, I want to shine a light, and if they're trying to shine a light and aren't getting attention, perhaps I can help them do that.
And further to that issue of multiple species, I think even the United States government has admitted in the Disclosure Project that they're aware of over, I think it was 82 different species.
Well, wait a sec. Hold on here. Wait a sec. Who in the U.S. government came up with any confirmation that there was anything to the ET hypothesis?
Well, I'm talking specifically about the Disclosure Project, which was, of course, the symposium of individuals who had worked within the United States government. They were also senators, congressmen, people who had been involved with
right.
Films,
But the thing is, it was not the United States government that made this comment.
Well, I think that what I'm trying to say is that individuals who had worked within the, either if you want to call it the NSA or the Black Ops, individuals who have worked within those, in my opinion, government-controlled situations, came forth and said, to my knowledge and to our knowledge, our team, this is what we have thus far been able to calculate.
How credible can we take this information that these whistleblowers are trying to get out there? Because here you've got people, whether they're in the NSA or any branch of the armed forces or any government agency, who have taken oaths of secrecy. And if they're breaking their oath of secrecy, if they're breaking their duly sworn silence to talk about something that they shouldn't be talking about, how can we take them serious?
Well, I think you have to be. I'm an American. I'm from New York City, and I think Americans as a whole, many have lost faith in fact, the institutions that we were raised to revere. It had to do with Vietnam. It had to do with the so-called assassination of Kennedy. So I think that many of these people coming forward have had moral struggles. I agree with you that there is an incredible moral struggle, and I think for every person that says something like Corso, for every person that writes a factual book about their experiences, there are hundreds and probably thousands more who would never do that. There are deathbed confessions. And not just about this issue. There was a recent deathbed confession by one of the former curators of the Smithsonian Institute, who confessed to a mass burning of giant Paleolithic skeletons that didn't fit into the timeline of our evolutionary Darwinistic point of view. So there are moral conflicts going on, but I think my information, aside from these government issues, my information that I'm seeing in the work that I'm doing directly with individuals is that they are in fact having encounters with many different types of beings. Now and I'm almost thinking now that the gray, what we would refer to as the classic gray, is maybe not even a fully biological being. That it may be a being that's engineered for space travel in some way, because the grays generally appear with other species directing their activities, either with humanoids or different species of different sorts. So there's a wide variety, Rob, just a huge variety of experiences that people have.
Tell me, if these ETs are out there, and I've been doing this show for 24 years. I have seen no physical evidence. I've seen no trace evidence that could actually be confirmed to be from, a spaceship of any kind. How can we take it seriously? And what would the governments have to gain by suppressing this information, suppressing their identity? How come no computer hacker has ever dug into a government data bank to try to expose this cover-up?
Well, I do disagree with a few of the things you just said, but not to dissect this. I think that the evidence is there. The evidence is there. I see a lot of material. The evidence is there. There is. It's not always easy to find. There is evidence in the realms of ancient archaeology. The evidence is there, and we're finding new evidence every day.
What kind of evidence?
Evidence of visitation, either in our ancient past, either in our own genetics. They've just, for instance, today, and this I just read this today.
Yeah.
They just discovered a totally unidentified string of DNA in hominids. In other words, a string of DNA that is neither human nor simian nor anything that they can identify, that has been found in an existing bipedal being that they knew about. So we're looking at an ancient world that was inhabited by probably a very wide variety of beings, and I think at least a portion of those beings brought DNA with them that we can't understand yet.
Is it possible that all these new discoveries are being found because that science has progressed to a point now when we are able to actually find these new DNA strains, that they've been around for years, that it's nothing new, it's just a new discovery?
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely with science in the past. Well, since you've been doing the show, my God, the real-time mapping of the brain. We know, from my point of view as a therapist, to know how the brain works, why it fires when it fires. And speaking of that, not to digress, but when you asked about the genuineness of an individual's experience, and like, how do I know they're not fabricating or they're not experiencing some type of a dissociative reaction? Well, we do know from the real-time mapping of the brain that when hypnotic regression techniques are used, and most of this research has been about past life regressions as opposed to the type of regression that I use, but both are equally esoteric, if you will. Anyway, the parts of the brain that are firing are not what you would consider the creative centers. It's not a frontal lobe firing. The parts of the brain that are firing when people are in regression, deep regression, in the deep states of hypnosis, it's the deep memory centers, the amygdala, the ancient parts of the brain. That's what's firing, and that's where the mystery lies, Rob. We know that what is going on in regression is not a creative, fabricated process.
All right,
we know it's coming from somewhere.
Okay. Georgina was telling us that hypnosis has been around since the beginning of World War I. Am I correct?
Well, hypnosis, but maybe not in the form that you might recognize it, has been around since the ancient Egyptians and Greeks and before. The Greeks had what they called sleep temples. They had complete clinics, if you will, that were devoted to the use of hypnotherapy. So I think Georgina is talking about in the modern era.
I see.
Certainly she is correct. And then later Ericksonian hypnosis, and yes. So it was more or less, I suppose, rediscovered. And Sigmund Freud himself was one of the main people that brought it to light as a modality.
By the way, I've been told by one of my researchers that the ununderstandable DNA comes from a Nature magazine article in 2010 about a previously unknown hominid human and the species. And the article was actually on December the 24th, 2010. So here we are.
I said I read it today.
Yeah.
I didn't say when it was when it came, but that's recent enough for me.
Well, yeah, 5 years is a long time in science, I guess. So tell me, have you had a UFO experience? Have you, Lesley, been abducted by aliens?
I had a very profound experience myself when I was about 16, 17 years old. And I do write about it in great detail in our forthcoming book, which is called Intersection. But the gist of it was that it was incredibly unpleasant. It was one of these classic abduction scenarios involving greys and other beings, and it happened in a very isolated part of the United States called the Black Hills, which is in South Dakota, which is an area. It's a sacred area to the Lakota Sioux. It's Pahasapa, and generally the Native American sacred areas have a lot of activity, and so does this area. So yes, I was awakened by my room being illuminated with a very strange light, and I felt a vibration, almost earthquake-like, but more like a sonic vibration, more like 10-cycle sound, if you will. And then there's a blackout until the next morning, and this is a campground, and I'm going up the hill to the bathhouse, to the washroom, and I have blood dripping down my leg. And this was not a normal experience. In other words, there was no explanation in particular as to why this would have happened. But I have since recovered some of these memories, and in my case, these experiences didn't go back to childhood. It was kind of more of a wrong place, wrong time situation, not unlike the Betty and Barney Hill experience.
So were you physically abused by these ETs?
I wouldn't call it abuse, but there was an examination, but it wasn't. I don't have any memory of any kind of implements or things of that nature. But obviously something happened. Yeah. I have not, frankly, explored the entire experience at this point.
Why not? If here you are, this is what you do. You explore encounters.
Well, that's true, but
with blood going down your leg, it kind of makes me want to know. Well, here, let me ask you: did you go to a doctor to see what happened?
Oh, absolutely.
And what did the doctor say?
Well, as I said, I do write about this. I have written about this, Rob, in great detail in our book, which will be out during this year. But it's a lot of it is very, very personal and very very traumatic, particularly because of my age, and I have to reveal certain details about other people too. So I will be happy to talk about this again, once the book comes out. But suffice it to say, I certainly did see a doctor. There certainly were issues, and that was a very real experience. But before we go off the air, one thing I do want to say is, for myself as a therapist, as a hypnotherapist, my concern for the people who come to see me is not necessarily whether an abduction event or an encounter, or whatever you wish to call it, occurred in our 3D dense physical plane. The issue is that the people who come to me are experiencing a very specific type of post-traumatic stress disorder. And my job as a therapist is to relieve the fear surrounding these events, and to go and to find the events and relieve the fear one by one by one by one, if that's what's required, and to empower the individual and to let them sleep. These people, I don't mean to speak in generalizations, but they have a lot of issues.
Sure they do.
Invariably, insomnia is a huge thing. They're afraid to sleep, or they get bothered when they sleep. And it might also surprise you, Rob, that most of the people who come to see me are what you would call very upstanding citizens, professional citizens, educators, attorneys, on and on and on. Those are mainly the people who I work with, because those are the people who've contacted me.
Well said. Listen, you and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Exo Nation, our guests this hour are experiencer Wes Roberts and hypnotherapist Lesley Mitchell Clarke. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the Exxon continues right here from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and heard around the world on the Starcom Radio Network. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
My name is Rob McConnell, and I would like to tell you about a very special lady that I have the pleasure of knowing, and that's Miss Sylvia Anthony. Sylvia Anthony believes the golden years are a time to gear up and get busy, not relax and take it easy. She has faced many hardships in her 84 years, but they have made her stronger and more determined. As founder and president of Sylvia's Haven, a shelter for women and their children near Boston, Sylvia has helped transform over 1,086 lives in the past 27 years, not only with housing, but also providing direction as to where they can go to develop the earning skills they want and need to live free from difficult domestic situations. Sylvia's Haven is everything to Sylvia Anthony, even calling it her magnificent obsession. Women who qualify for the program at Sylvia's Haven receive assistance via guidance counselors to find the appropriate job opportunity. Women and their children may remain at the housing for up to 2 years. At the end of this time, or sooner, a woman who is successfully employed and has an apartment or home may leave Sylvia's Haven to begin a new and independent life. Now this is where you come in to help make Sylvia's dream into a reality. Sylvia's dream is to have a Sylvia's Haven in every state to help as many women and their children as she can, and to help this dream come true. A crowdfunding site has been established which can be accessed at www.sylviasdream.org. Now that's www.sylviasdream.org. With your financial help and support, Sylvia Anthony will continue to help those in their time of need, not only in the Boston area, but with her dream of having a Sylvia's Haven in every state of the United States. Your help is needed to make Sylvia's dream come true. Please visit and give at www.sylviasdream.org. Once again, www.sylviasdream.org. And remember, the only difference between a dream and reality is just doing it. We need your help to make Sylvia's dream come true. Visit www.sylviasdream.org. Once again, www.sylviasdream.org. For the X Zone Radio TV show and the X Chronicles newspaper, I am Rob McConnell.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
The Alien Cosmic Expo will be held in Brantford, Ontario, June 26, 27, 28, and will feature 24 internationally acclaimed experts and researchers of UFOs, crop circles, alien abductions, and much more in this 3-day 2015 summer Canadian event. Experts in the field of extraterrestrials and alien encounters, out-of-body experiences, past life regression, soul reading, psychic, and mediumship will all be presented with professionalism, integrity, and credibility, making the Alien Cosmic Expo the largest event of its kind in Canada for 2015. The exhibitor hall will feature a spectacular lineup of gifted mediums, psychics, astrologers, channelers, aura photography, healers, as well as books, DVDs, alternative health products, crystals, jewelry, and much more, completing the venue with something for everyone. For all information and to purchase your tickets for the Alien Cosmic Expo, go to www.aliencosmicexpo.com. That's www.aliencosmicexpo.com.
I'm Rob McConnell, and welcome to the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Today on the X Zone, contacting the dead by phone. Can you contact the dead by phone?
Thomas Edison kept his machines secret until they were patented, so little is known about what he may have planned but never completed. However, in 1941, a blueprint was found in New York for a telephone to contact the dead, and this was allegedly to have been Edison's plan. It may have well been a fraud. However, in any case, a model was made from the design, but unfortunately, it didn't work. Contacting the dead, fact or fiction, the quest continues in the X-Zone.
Welcome back to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from the Broadcast Center here in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and around the world on the Starcom Radio Network, www.starcomradionetwork.com. And if you're looking for great radio listening, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m., listen to the Ed Till Show on Starcom. Once again, the Ed Till Show, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., www.starcomradionetwork.com. X-Zone Nation, we're talking to Wes Roberts and Lesley Mitchell Clarke. We're talking about UFOs. We're talking about ETs. We're talking about experiences. We're talking about abductions. And here's a question. And Wes, I'm going to bounce this one over to you because, Wes, why do you think that...
Hey.
Yeah. Guys, welcome back. Why do you think, Wes, that there just hasn't been a major landing? A UFO on Parliament Hill in Ottawa, a UFO landing on the grass of the White House lawn, because apparently anybody can get through, even the pizza delivery guys. And Red Square in Russia. Why don't they just make their presence known once and for all and dispel any and all controversy pertaining to their existence?
I think that's an excellent question, and scuttlebutt, and that's all. But scuttlebutt will tell you that we are so creative as a species in being destructive that they don't want to come that close to us. That would be the short answer to you, that they really do not want to get that involved, because our first reaction, I think, from their perspective, would be violence.
Wow. Let me ask you this hypothetical question, once again, based on your experience, Wes. And I'd just like to thank both of you for coming on the show, and I'm looking forward to meeting you guys in person at the Alien Cosmic Expo. It's going to be a blast. Based on your experience, and based on what you feel in your heart of hearts when talking about ETs and the ET factor, if two countries, and let's use the United States and North Korea, were to push those nuclear buttons, total devastation, it's going to happen. Would they step in then?
Okay, so in my heart of hearts, I would say most likely they would, and most likely they have stepped in to avoid that kind of self-destruction, because the planet's a nice place whether we like it or not. And so they could make use of it, without us wrecking it and wrecking ourselves. But I think that would be true, that the potential for one or more species to step in so that we don't do that and irradiate the rest of space while we're doing it, probably they would, and this is just a guess.
Well, there is some interesting documentation about missiles being turned off mysteriously. So, as Wes says, I think that intervention has probably occurred.
Yeah. Okay. You're talking about Bob Salas and what happened on his watch. But once again, that's one side of the story. And I have to play the devil's advocate here because, I'm not totally convinced on this entire alien UFO concept. Because here you've got Bob Salas, who was a member of the United States Air Force. He was downstairs in the missile silos. He knew what happened down there. But what does the U.S. government, what does the Air Force, what does NORAD say happened?
Well, I don't believe any of them as an American.
Why not? Why,
this is the issue.
Why
this is basically what we're talking about
why
here.
is everything? Why is everything?
The U.S. government does not have the credibility that you seem to be assigning to them.
But you guys put the government where it is, so you've got to blame yourself. You vote them in.
Myself personally, I've been an expatriate for a long time, and I did not vote for Reagan and the rest of the right wingers. I did not do that, and many of those elections were manipulated. So, but what we have a lot of evidence. Well, I'm going to say, I won't use the term evidence, but
Right.
there are a number of people coming forward who are recounting experiences where they have been involved with one or more government programs. It is my belief, after much that I've heard and much that I've researched, it is my belief that there are parallel space programs going on, much as Richard Dolan believes. There are two things going on. There is the space program that is the result of the reverse engineering of the Ebens planes from 1947, or craft rather, and there is the PR space program to distract us with our little moonwalk, and that is a distraction, nothing more than a distraction.
Okay, hold on. We're going to bring a listener in here. Corey in Florida, welcome to the X Zone.
How's it going today?
It's going today. I'm going to connect us over here, if I can figure out how to do this on the new board they put in today. Let me see. Are we all here? Wes, you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we have Wes, we have Lesley, and we have Corey from Florida joining us. Corey, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, go ahead.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, everybody. I just was curious, what is involved in your style of PTSD therapy, and how do you differentiate people suffering PTSD from alien encounters versus PTSD from other types of experiences like child abuse?
That's a very excellent question, and I would have to say that as far as the human response mechanism that we refer to as PTSD is identical no matter what has triggered it, whether it's being in the Vietnam War, whether it is child abuse. The physiological things, the psychological things, that happen to people all have a great similarity, no matter what the origin of the issue. And as hypnotherapists, we have to be very careful. We're not doctors, we're not psychiatrists, we're skilled at a specific type of therapy, so we are precluded from working with anyone who falls into the loosely defined category of mental illness. So I cannot work with anyone who is on psychotropic medication, antipsychotic medication. If I do work with someone who is under a psychiatrist's care, I may do so with a permission letter from that psychiatrist. So that does happen, but I would say the real delineating factor here is once I get the person into hypnosis, we go first of all to the origin of their problems, and the origin of their problems could very well be sexual assault, abuse that has been disguised in their conscious mind as some type of other event. So I look for what's really going on with an open mind. And I rarely think first, well, this has to be an abduction experience. As I said, I think earlier in the show, I do my very best, very, very best to rule out any other possibility. Sleep paralysis. I do my best to rule out any of those other options. And then hopefully it's like Occam's razor. Once you eliminate all the things that it can't be, it is what it is.
Corey, you're in Florida, and you've been listening for a while. Obviously, you decided to call in. What is your take on the ET UFO thing? Do you think the government of the United States is actually suppressing this information, or do you think that it's nothing?
It's a little hard for me to take, especially because, like you mentioned earlier in the show, computer hackers, they've uncovered all sorts of information, including username and passwords, credit card information, and all of that. But in all these years of computer hacking and trying to attack the government databases of the world, they haven't been able to encounter anything solid. but at the same time, I like to keep an open mind, and I really appreciate the guest responses here. I'm just wondering, do people come to you guys specifically for alien-related PTSD encounters, or are you general practitioners?
I do all sorts of hypnotherapy. It's a healing technique. I also have a whole set of protocols I use for performing artists. I work in pain management. I even do things like helping people to quit smoking or achieve a healthy weight or heal or insomnia. So you name it, I deal with it. So a percentage, I'd say about half of my practice involves experiencers. The other half is therapeutic hypnosis for any kind of thing that you could possibly imagine.
Very nice. I really appreciate it, guys.
All right, Corey, thanks very much for calling.
Much. Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Exonation, if you'd like to give us a call and speak to Corey or speak to our...
The call cannot be transferred.
Oops. Oh, geez, where are we here? What's going on here? Who do we have here? All right, there we are.
You still got us.
You still got us, Rob.
Well, I'm glad I've got you. I'm glad I've got you because I was afraid I cut you off.
No, we're here.
Listen, we've got about, let me see, 13 minutes left. Let's talk about what's going to happen on June 26, 27, 28 in Brantford, Ontario.
Oh boy, this is pretty exciting stuff, Rob. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is certainly one of the biggest ufology events, Canadian ufology events that has taken place. Certainly, we have the Modern Knowledge Tour in Toronto, but this is a really big deal. We have, I believe, 23 top-notch guests from the fields of ufology, not only ufology, but related metaphysical aspects as well. But we have the great Stanton Friedman, a guy that I'm sure you probably love. He's Mr. Right Brain. Stanton Friedman will be there with his "Just the Facts, ma'am" type deal. And we have go ahead, Wes, jump in there.
We've got a crop circle expert coming
Patty
in.
Greer.
Patty Greer.
An astronauts person coming in. We've
Jason
got,
Martell.
Hypnotherapist coming in.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We've got the two of us that will be doing a presentation as well.
Excellent.
An array of guests, actually.
Paul Hellyer, former Defense Minister of Canada.
Also
and,
the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the idea of the wonderful gals that and Guy Les Such of MUFON Brantford, by the way, I should say this is his baby. He's the founder of this entire concept, and then colleagues of mine, Heather Masters and Joanne Eady, have made it a reality, and we conferred, and they were able to acquire some wonderful guests. So there are going to be, of course, obviously, presentations by these wonderful guests. We do have also some free events. We have a meet and greet on the Friday morning with all of the speakers. We have an exhibition hall with all kinds of things going on. So, and I believe you can even, it's not a big costly thing. You can get a day rate. You don't have to buy a whole weekend pass. But I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic, Rob, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to continue it on an annual basis.
Excellent. Let me ask you one more question here, Wes. How do you deal with skepticism?
Well, this is a good question because it can happen as frequently as daily. It doesn't really. I guess one of the things for me is that when people get to know me, they realize I'm credible in most other areas of life. I don't seem to be on the fringe. I hold down a responsible job as an educator. I'm compassionate. I'm reasonable. And so then, if I at that point get to tell them, they can usually take it in stride. Having said that, no, I don't tell everyone because there is some degree of ridicule still out there, as uncalled for in my own opinion as I think it is. So when I get skepticism, I will calmly tell people why I think I've gone through what I've gone through, why these things may not be dreams, why these things are not illusions, and how they've impacted me on a day-to-day basis. And quite honestly, I think made me more aware.
I was just going to say, Rob, many of my clients, and Wes included, have very suspect scars and markings, usually triangles, sometimes crescents. They all seem to share these remarkable kind of phenomena.
When we look at the big picture, people are reporting these sightings in the skies. People are reporting these encounters, these experiences, these abduction scenarios. Why only certain people? Why not everyone?
Well, that is a very interesting question. I think one thing that seems to be a common thread that certainly Bud Hopkins was very much a proponent of is that these experiences seem to happen in family groups. Mm-hmm. Therefore, there seems to be some type of genetic research going on, if you will. Now, that's not to say that that's with all experiences, but I know that many of the people that I work with and many of the people that came forward to, Dr. Mack or Bud Hopkins had siblings who also shared in those experiences. So there does seem to be some type of interest in the genetic situation. And, of course, out on the fringe there, you do have individuals who claim that sperm has been taken and mm-hmm. ova have been taken, and there are people that believe they have been shown their progeny, hybrid children. So there's a lot going on, and I myself maintain a healthy skepticism, Rob.
Yeah. You seem to be very skeptical about the ethics and the truth behind the U.S. government. Why?
Well, without incriminating, let us just say that I know two people who are very close personal friends mm-hmm. who were involved directly in government programs that were being run out of a base that would be familiar to you, and were definitely involved with ET technology and contact with ETs itself.
All right.
So I have personal experience in the sense that close friends mm-hmm. have conveyed things to me.
If there is reverse engineering going on, why are we still using the propulsion systems that we're using to go to Mars, to explore the solar system? It doesn't make sense.
It's the fake. It's the distraction. It's the fake space program.
But who's causing the distraction?
If you look at the work of Len Kasten or Andrew mm-hmm. Basiago, I think it's highly probable that we have military bases both on Mars and the Moon, and perhaps even elsewhere. We have a real space program that is the result of reverse engineering from the Roswell crash, and we have the pretend space program, which is a huge distraction, which keeps us in a servile position.
But wait a sec. That's a hypothesis.
Well, there are a lot of people who share that.
But not the majority. But not the majority of people. This is just it. Well, it's a very small group that believe the governments of the world are suppressing this information, that we've been to Mars, we have bases on Mars, we've got bases on the Moon, that all this reverse engineering is from an alleged crash going back to 1947.
Not one, but at any rate, I think there are far more people who are beginning to accept that type of reality than you would probably imagine, Rob.
I don't know. The question is, why? Why the suppression?
Well, I would say follow the money, just like the big detectives, just like Sam Spade. Follow the money. It's all about the military-industrial complex. It's all about a class system. Follow the money. That's the whole thing. Greed. Human greed.
Human greed or human survival?
Human greed. Human greed.
Okay, let me ask you another question. If these ETs are out there, and if if they have been monitoring us for all these years, and if they don't want to get involved with us, why do they continue to watch?
Well, as Wes stated, I think they're including Betty and Barney Hill. A lot of experiencers have been shown a lot of information about concern for the environment. I think that we may be far more interdependent with other civilizations, other planets than we would ever suspect. I think we're probably exuding a lot of pollution, interdimensional pollution. So I think there is that aspect again where they would turn off a nuke if they could, that type of thing. And I also think it's very possible that there is a Gene Roddenberry-like prime directive where evolved beings are not really, it's not really kosher for them to become directly involved with us. It's like raising your children. You want to guide, but you don't want to step in and do it for them.
How much longer do you think they're going to guide before they actually step in?
I think that probably within our lifetime we're going to see some amazing changes. I think that there will be enough people on the planet that will be aware that we will have the firm evidence that you're looking for.
All right, we've got to say so long for tonight. Wes, thank you very much. And Lesley, great talking to you. I love talking to you. I love your comebacks. Let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you guys.
Oh, thank you, Rob. Well, you can always reach us through our Facebook page, Contact Radio, and certainly if you're interested in hypnotic regression, you can reach me through the Ontario Hypnosis Center here in Toronto. And Wes, you have a personal email you can give them?
Yeah, surely. contact.producer@gmail.com.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Hey, great talking to you. Take care. We'll see you on June 26, 27, 28 at the Alien Cosmic Expo, Brantford, Ontario. Visit their website, www.aliencosmicexpo.com.
Thanks, Rob.
Hey,
Thank you,
great
Rob.
talking to you both. Take care of yourselves now.
Okay.
All right.
See you in Brantford.
Okay.
Good night now.
All right. Okay, Exo Nation, we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. The X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. And now on Starcom Radio Network from 8 p.m., that's right, until 11 p.m. Monday through Friday. We'll get this straight yet. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love my novel, From Out of the Woodwork. It's the story of a young Toronto contractor, Sean Kennedy, who buys derelict homes, guts them, and turns them into multifamily dwellings. Slums just waiting to happen. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, the house fights back. Former owners unexpectedly come out of the woodwork as he starts the destruction. The apparitions come to him when he touches old books, reads hidden letters, rummages through old boxes, finds a locket or reads a discovered manuscript of a murder mystery. From Out of the Woodwork will take you from 1899 to the horror of the World Trade Center, September 11, 2001. Check out From Out of the Woodwork on my website, www.williamspeckham.com.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com. With each new extreme weather event or terrorist act, it becomes increasingly obvious that we live in uncertain and challenging times. We all buy car insurance. Why not collapse and catastrophe insurance? Matthew Stein, an MIT-trained engineer and green builder, has written 2 outstanding books to help people prepare, plan for, and deal with everything from minor situations lasting a few days to full-on collapse. Matt's first book, When Technology Fails, is a manual for self-reliance, sustainable living, and surviving the long emergency. This massive book covers the gamut from first aid and emergency preparedness to alternative healing, renewable energy, primitive living skills, and 18th century technologies that could be critical to your comfort and survival in a long-lasting crisis. Matt's second book, When Disaster Strikes, is a comprehensive emergency preparedness handbook and survival guide. When Disaster Strikes is an essential item for every family's go bag. Both books are available at all usual sources. There's a wealth of totally free information posted at whentechfails.com, and author-signed copies may be purchased at mattstein.com. That's www.whentechfails.com and www.mattstein.com.
The Alien Cosmic Expo will be held in Brantford, Ontario, June 26, 27, 28, and will feature 24 internationally acclaimed experts and researchers of UFOs, crop circles, alien abductions, and much more in this 3-day 2015 summer Canadian event. Experts in the field of extraterrestrials and alien encounters, out-of-body experiences, past life regression, soul reading, psychic, and mediumship will all be presented with professionalism, integrity, and credibility, making the Alien Cosmic Expo the largest event of its kind in Canada for 2015. The exhibitor hall will feature a spectacular lineup of gifted mediums, psychics, astrologers, channelers, aura photography, healers, as well as books, DVDs, alternative health products, crystals, jewelry, and much more, completing the venue with something for everyone. For all information and to purchase your tickets for the Alien Cosmic Expo, go to www.aliencosmicexpo.com. That's www.aliencosmicexpo.com.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus that's now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.